All right, what is up? We are live. Got the poll question up. Do you think NASCAR gets a charter deal done before playoffs are over? So far, overwhelmingly, so get your vote in now if you think differently or if you think the same. Either way, but the poll question is up. A little bit of Xfinity news before we get going. Good here today. Brandon Jones going back to Joe Gibbs Racing, and apparently it's going to be for at least more than 1 year, according to reports. So that is interesting. So that opens up, I guess, a spot at JRM. So we'll have to see how all these stuff in these. So many people could fill those seats. So I don't really want to get into that because I have another spiel I want to go on before on the cold open before we get to the comments. So let's get to that. Obviously, you saw the thumbnail or the picture to the video before we got going here with Curtis Polk's shirts. And Curtis Polk, he's the real MVP. Curtis Polk is the real MVP here because, as you see, he wore that shirt. And let's go to Nick Geddes from Nick Geddes News and on3.com is where this article I'm reading from is at, where it says 2311 investor Curtis Polk made a statement ahead of Sunday's Southern 500 at Darlington, pinning a piece of paper on the back of his shirt, which read, "Please don't ask me about my charter. I don't want to disparage NASCAR and lose it." So let me go ahead and tell you why I like that quote. It is a massive calling of the bluff of NASCAR because NASCAR has been holding this idea of they can take the charters away anytime they want to from these teams if these teams keep acting up. It also shows the level of control NASCAR wants to have. I'm actually going to get to that in just a minute with a Denny Hamlin quote, but it shows they're overreaching and just their need for control and some greediness, which I'm going to get to a quote to with Michael Jordan, and I think Adam Stern is in there as well. But it just shows the overreach. And I like that he's calling their bluff because they keep saying, hey, we're going to take these charters away. Well, that would be quite possibly the dumbest flipping thing NASCAR could do. Would pull these charters. It would literally kill the sport. Nobody would invest in the sport if they pull the charters. So I like the fact that Curtis Polk wore this shirt and said, "Go ahead and pull them. I dare you. I double dare you." MF, if you've ever seen, you know what movie I'm talking about there. So I like the fact that he's basically calling their bluff, and for that, Curtis Polk gets my real MVP. But let's go a little bit further down the article because Denny Hamlin had a reaction to it, apparently on his podcast. Same article though, by the way. I would choose not to speak. This is Denny Hamlin speaking. I would choose not to speak about his shirt, but it kind of speaks for itself. And I can't believe he actually wore that. Hamlin said, "They do not want you speaking negatively. That's a new add to the charter agreement. We'll see how that goes. NASCAR has got their stance and the teams have theirs. We'll just see where it goes the next few weeks." So that right there shows you that NASCAR is putting extra clauses. It just gives you a little peek behind the curtain of how NASCAR is behind the scenes. NASCAR and the Iron Curtain, communism, whatever you want to throw at them, they want to control the narrative. They want to put clauses in there where you can't talk bad about NASCAR. It is the most dictatorial thing that I've ever seen in sports. It's just they want to keep it their sandbox, and you have to do what they want you to do. You have to put the numbers where they want you to put the numbers because and they don't care about what the fans have to say about it either. That's actually the reason I brought up the numbers. We were talking about this in the Discord today. Shout out to Elite Precision and Bumblebee. I think that's who I was talking about this with. But remember when NASCAR moved the numbers back and the fans said, "We hate it. We don't want to move the numbers. We want to keep the numbers in the center." And NASCAR said, "Okay, no big deal. We'll just move them to the front." So how about that? Because NASCAR doesn't care about they don't care about what the fans have to say. They just want to do what they want to do, and they want to silence everyone who disagrees with them. So it looks like everybody's agreeing with them. So that's a nice little look behind the curtain there that they're actually trying to put a clause into the charter agreements where you can't say anything disparaging about NASCAR. What an absolutely ridiculous clause! If the owners let that clause stay in there, they're absolutely insane, in my opinion. And NASCAR, we're going to get to that in a minute because there's a J-Ski quote I'm going to read from too as well. But NASCAR wants to get this deal done sooner rather than later. And Denny Hamlin did say the next few weeks in his quote. And this is where we're at with the charter agreements right now. Teams have secured a commitment from NASCAR to increase the amount of media rights revenue they receive in the next term per Stern. That'd be Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal. NASCAR notably announced $7.7 billion in media rights deals with Fox Sports, NBC, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Amazon for 2025 through 2031. Teams currently get 25% of the broadcast revenue. Not bad. Tracks get 65% of the broadcast revenue, and NASCAR gets only 10%. So they're putting that only 10% in there. That only 10% is misleading because NASCAR owns half of the track. So if you cut that 65 in half and you add 10%, by my math, you get 47.5%. So NASCAR is getting 47.5% of this $7.7 billion. And all the teams want is for NASCAR to give a little bit of that money back so they can get close to that 35% that the tracks that Marcus Smith owns, basically the other 35% of the money that goes to the tracks, because Marcus Smith owns the other 35% of the tracks. There's a few independent tracks out there. I shouldn't say that. But the NASCAR teams want to get closer to that 35% number. So I thought that was interesting. And the way that it's the way that NASCAR always throws it out there, that they're only getting 10% of the TV money, that's cap. Like, they are getting actually 47.5% of the TV money because they own half of the tracks, even though it's through another business and, whatever. So here's Michael Jordan's thoughts on it. And this is the one that I really think is one of the big sticking points here. And Michael Jordan had this to say: if you had permanent charters, because that's the sticking point, right? They want permanent charters so that they can get permanent deals with TV money, not only TV money, but license. Let's get to this quote and I'll get into it. If you had permanent charters, then you could create a revenue stream either with new investors or with different types of sponsorship that would subsidize that type of variance between ownership and the league, Jordan said. That's a big, big miss right there. If you don't correct that, the sport's going to die, not because of the competition aspect, but because economically it doesn't make sense for any business people. And that 100%, I'm glad Michael Jordan came out and said that. That 100% is where I'm at with it. NASCAR needs to just go ahead and make the charters permanent. That way they can make permanent deals. Basically, if they make the charters permanent, the teams automatically become a part of NASCAR, and they can organize these deals. Like, you've got your TV deal over here, and then you could have a licensing deal over here where NASCAR, if they quote unquote steal a sponsor from a team, the team would still get some money from that because they would have a very similar breakdown to how you see the tracks and the teams and all that with the sponsors that come in and sponsor NASCAR, i.e. Coca-Cola, Amazon Web Services, the NASCAR main sponsors and things like that. So I think Jordan is dead on, and I'm glad he came out and said that. And it's super interesting. But then in the same breath today, and I'm on J-Ski now, and they're quoting the Sports Business Journal. In the same breath, NASCAR turns around today and says, NASCAR hopes to reach an agreement on the new governing charter system with its Premier Series teams this week to avoid having the talks spill over into its playoffs, which start this weekend at Atlanta, according to sources. The sides have been negotiating for 2 years on the terms of the charter deal. Teams have secured a commitment from NASCAR to increase the amount of media rights revenue and receive the next term, but have sharply disagreed on a number of fronts, and there were signs of continuing tensions this past weekend at Darlington Raceway. He's referring to Mr. Polk's shirt there. Once again, the real MVP. So NASCAR is hoping to get this deal done before basically the playoffs start. And that's important for a couple of reasons. You've got this documentary being filmed, and that might seem like a small thing, but in the off season, and even if you just go to F1, what launched F1 in the United States and raised it to this huge level that F1 in the United States is now, is that documentary series on Netflix. So to me, this documentary thing is not a small thing. And some of these teams have given NASCAR permission to film them. But if this charter deal doesn't go through, they have the option to revoke those rights. So and why this is important from a editing standpoint, that's an absolute nightmare because you don't know which storylines you can go with, which things you can actually use. So even the stuff you have right now is going to delay the editing process, and that's going to push that out of the window. Whereas basically the series would launch while the season is still going on. Whereas if they get it filmed and done now, they would have time to edit it and chop it up and get it properly organized to happen in the off season to continue the conversations and build some momentum for NASCAR going into the 2025 season. So it might seem like a small thing now, but I feel like in the off season it's going to be a much bigger thing if they can't get this thing done and if they can't get that documentary done. Also, it would be the negative press that they would kind of be worried about. Negative press could overshadow the playoffs itself, and it could overshadow the playoff champion. Like, it could just totally ruin the playoffs if things get really nasty and really ugly. Not only that, but if teams get to a point where they feel like they need to do something, and let's say they throw a monkey wrench into the playoffs and completely ruin it, that could, that could be another thing that NASCAR is worried about. So that's another reason they want to get this deal hammered out and this deal done. It goes on to say, and here's an interesting thing as well, and then I'll jump into the chat. Teams received the latest draft from NASCAR this week as sides continue to haggle on deal points around things like how much of a say teams will have over major competition-related rule changes that NASCAR could make over the coming 7 years from 2025 through 2031. The big thing I think that stands out to me here with that part of the quote is NASCAR basically forced this new car on them, whereas the teams had their own fab shops. And according to Denny Hamlin, at least, he's been very, very vocal about it. They're not saving any money at all. If anything, they might be spending more money with this new car that is supposed to save money. So from Denny Hamlin's perspective, they're not saving any money. So they would want some input on future moves like that. I think a lot of the teams feel the same way. Denny Hamlin, I'm just using him because he's been vocal about it. People familiar with the matter said some teams appear to be at a point or nearing a point where they will sign the NASCAR offer. Still, it was unclear whether a deal will get done this week. It's also unclear whether all teams will ultimately stick together and sign at the same time, or whether some could hold out and try to negotiate for better terms, a scenario that some in the sport are very leery of. So there you go. Basically, what they're telling you is some of the small teams are ready to sign, go ahead and get it over with. And then you've got some of your bigger teams that are going to hold out and try to get a better deal than the smaller teams, creating sort of a caste system in NASCAR. And if I was a smaller team, I would just go ahead and hang with the bigger teams, because you don't want to get that. You're already at a disadvantage with the bigger teams. You don't want to get a worse deal. So if I was one of the smaller teams, I would just go ahead and stick together. Like, you might as well just all stay together at this point and get it done. But the other thing is they're talking about they might get it signed this week. It says here, still unclear whether a deal will get done this week. So they, according to NASCAR, they're hopeful that it'll get done this week. So very interesting stuff as far as that goes. You've got basically one side saying they're not happy with the deal, and then you've got another side saying that we're within a week of signing this thing, and just very, very interesting things going on, especially with the protest from Curtis Polk. So I thought a lot to unpack and a lot to cover there. And I wanted to lead off with that. But now we'll jump into the chat and see what you all want to talk about. Like I said, poll question is up. Does NASCAR get this charter deal done before the playoffs are over? Like I said, in that one article, they said they're close to a week away and it might happen. 9% saying yes, 91% saying no. So once again, another dynamite poll from your boy here. 33 votes in right now. Go ahead and get your vote in if you'd like to. If not, don't feel pressure to. It's not a big deal. OJ and toothpaste. I wonder how many wins Creed has on Earth 2. Sheldon Creed, man. He's got a YouTube channel, by the way. Just saw it today. Sheldon Creed has a YouTube channel. So if you're a Sheldon Creed man, check out his YouTube channel. He didn't have as many views as I would hope he would have. So I will say that. So everybody, if you want to, go over there and show Sheldon Creed some love. I wonder how many wins Creed has on Earth 2, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, I don't know. Not a clue. Because he finishes second. So Earth 2, he would be second to last. So he can't get wins on either. He can't get wins on either. I love that hat. BB says in between the lanes. I appreciate you, Lanes. This is technically a retro hat now. It's over. It's like 2 years old. It's so weird to wear an M&M's hat and think of it as a retro hat, but it is what it is. Appreciate it though. Austin Dillon has the third 2025 diecast. Right on. So RCR got their 2025 diecast game under control. NASCAR with the new verbiage in the contracts. I say, yeah, super interesting. Just shows how much control and how just stuff that NASCAR actually worries about is so strange. Like, Who cares if the teams disparage you in public? I mean, is this freaking middle school? I can't believe he said that about me. Like that's the vibe NASCAR is giving off. Like super crazy. Evening, y'all. Labor Day and Southern 500. The world seems right. Says Brickyard Brickhead. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, let's see. Steamed Octopus. I disagree. No charters would be better. Not really. Like at this point, if they had never done charters, I might agree with you. But at this point, if they pull the charters away, there would be all the investors would just pull out. Like, why? What would you invest in if NASCAR pulls the rug out of you? You paid all this money for a charter, and NASCAR pulls the rug out from under you and doesn't have to pay you a dime back for pulling the rug out from under you. Who would invest into a sport like that? At this point, if they take the charters away, it would be an utter disaster. Like it would be an utter disaster. I don't know about that. But if they had never put the charters in, I might have to agree with you then. NASCAR knows this charter thing gives too much power to the owners, says Duke Chronic, and that's exactly what it's over. It's over like every what's gonna really kill NASCAR is if they don't just relax. They've been a communist dictatorship for a very long time. Steel curtain and everything, as you saw from them trying to put that clause into the current charter agreement. But power and greed is going to be the ultimate undoing of NASCAR. Like you might as well just, like Michael Jordan was saying, you might as well make the teams a part of it because that is how other investors, and he's talking about sponsors and people that want to get involved in the sport, they sign one contract with basically now, or let's take the NBA. You sign one contract with the NBA and you're on all of these teams. You sign one contract with NASCAR and you're on all of those teams. That's what Michael Jordan is getting at. So power and control is going to be the ultimate, the Achilles heel of NASCAR if they don't tighten up here, in my opinion. And it's just that my opinion. You guys are more than welcome to disagree with me. Let's see. Good evening, BB says Thunder Strikes. What's up, Thunder Strikes? Hi, y'all from North Idaho. What's up, Cassandra? What's up, North Idaho? How crazy? Wow, it's crazy that they are trying to silence teams. It wouldn't shock me if this is one of the reasons that Tony got out when he did. Wouldn't shock me since he's very outspoken, says Thunder Strikes. I think it's another reason that he tried to start the SRX series. I think he was trying to sort of prove a point there. He's like, hey, I can run a series. I can run a series too. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, but I do think that was part of the reason he started SRX was to sort of wave a middle finger at NASCAR. Uh, Independence or Gateway. The only independent tracks are Gateway, Pocono, Loudon, Indy, and remind me of any others, says Thunderstrike. So there you go. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Four off the top of Thunderstrike's head. Strike of the championship four, calling it here, says Cody Ledger. That I mean, if it gets ugly, that could happen, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Can someone explain to me what the point of watching the Southern 500 or even the Coke 600 is when you have stage breaks? Says E. Damon. I don't know because you want to see who wins. I don't know. I don't agree with stage breaks either, but I think you could still have stages. Just get rid of the breaks. I think that would probably be the move to make. Thoughts on NASCAR roundtable on True TV starting Thursday. KFB is the first driver guest. So yeah, what one wise guy is talking about is who's it going to be? You're going to have Jordan Bianchi, Mamba Smith. You're going to have a rotating driver. Help me out here, wise guy. And it's going to be, never mind, it's going to be so low down here that it's going to be hard for me to catch it back up. But you're going to have some other hosts there. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. Shannon Spake was another one. Anyway, that's going to be on True TV, and they're going to be doing that. So hopefully it works out. It's going to be a roundtable type deal. So hopefully it works out for them, and it's a good deal. Hopefully it's something cool like it's the same people I would imagine that did the NBA stuff with Charles Barkley and them. So hopefully it turns out to be something cool like that. Better poll or same company basically. True TV, TNT, that's all the same company. Better poll. What happens first? Creed gets a win, or California is built, or we get Grand Theft Auto 6. That's a better poll for sure. So I'm going to close. Let's see here. Let me close this one out. And I'll start this one. Start a poll, not a Q&A. There we go. What happens first? Creed wins. Cali track built. or GTA 5. What is it? GTA 6? We're gonna go GTA 6. I can't remember. I stopped playing at GTA 3. Let's see. All right, here we go. Bumblebee saying, "What's up? What's up, B? What's up, Cassandra Keller?" Let's see. David Nyhoff saying maybe Hamlin has a point. Drivers 20th or worse that win a race waters down the talent. Yeah, I don't disagree. That's basically what I said. Don't like they had a top 30 rule. I thought it should be at least a top 25. And I'll go a step further. Having 16 cars in the playoffs waters down the playoffs too. I liked it better when it was either 10 or 12 or 10 cars and two wild cards. So I thought maybe you have two wild card spots where if you win a race, you can get in that way, whichever two cars are highest in points that won the two wild card races. So two wild cards, your top 10, because 16 drivers, that's half the field. That waters it down too. So me personally, if I was doing a playoff system, I would set it up a lot different. But that's just me personally. And I wouldn't have one single race being the deciding factor for the championship. Like I would set it up quite differently. What's up, BB? What's up, Chrome Diesel? Good to see you on here. Cassandra Keller. Hi, BB. And Bologna Burger says Cassandra Keller. Appreciate what you did there, Cassandra. Let's see. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly. I'm the sister of B. What's up, Elise? Good to have you on here, my friend. If everybody's using the same parts and pieces, where did RCR find this new speed? That's a good question. I think if you go back to maybe everybody's looking at the Olympic break, but also they got rid of Andy Petrie at the same time. And I can't believe I'm saying this because Andy Petrie is an absolute racing, in my opinion, racing genius. But when as soon as they got rid of him and they took some time over the Olympic break, they have immediately showed speed. Since then, Austin Dillon got the controversial win, but he had the fastest car there that night, at least a long run car. He didn't seem to have anything on the short run, but still got to keep the controversial win minus the points and all that. So you got a winning car over there. You've had Kyle Busch with 2 seconds, a fourth, and a 12th in 4 races. So whatever they did during the Olympic break, whoever they've moved around, they've done a great job. So I don't know where the speed's coming from, but they've certainly found some. Nice to meet you, Elite says Thunder. Hey, Elite says B. What's up, Thunder? Welcome, Elise says One Wise Guy. RCR clearly found a large piece of their cheating innovation that other teams were using, says Thunder Strikes. Yeah, it depends on how you look at it, cheating or innovation. Or whatever. One Wise Guy, RCR is just working harder in later hours. So that's where the speed came from, says OJ and Toothpaste. They're saying their prayers, they're eating their vitamins, and they're doing what every other team does. So it is what it is. They do not, says Quiet Cat. Thanks, y'all, says Elise. I'm subscribed to Sheldon Creed. BB says In Between Lanes. Appreciate you, my man. Yeah, he needs a little love. Hopefully, he's got more views than when I looked at it a little while ago. But it might be his first video, too. So hopefully he gets it going over there. Grading papers, so I may not talk a lot, but I'm here. Appreciate you there, Elise. I understand. And get those papers graded. Life of a school teacher. Definitely not easy. Sounds like NASCAR wants part of these drivers off profits, like Larson's off-track merchandise sales. Says Wise Guy. I mean, Eric Almirola was talking. I think I was at Phoenix when I saw this one. Eric Almirola was, how they have the little tent set up, and Eric Almirola was talking about it. And he joked, he said, somebody go over there and buy Eric Almirola hat because every hat they sell, I get 15 cents or something like that. So those margins are already very slim for the drivers on what they get back from it. So I thought that was a pretty interesting peek into the finances of that. So if NASCAR wants a percentage of that, they're getting super picky about that. Like I said, greed and power are going to be their downfall. Howdy from the Great White North. Creed looks like the singer from Bare Naked Ladies, says Robin Marks. Hey, if I had $1 million, and if Sheldon Creed had one more win than he does now, or or just not have bad things happen to him at the end of races where he always finishes second or third. OJ, did you have a good birthday? Says B. Lots of us listen to the lots of us listen in the background. At least, says One Wise Guy. It seems like RCR are starting to figure out how to make their cars competitive. Probably a combination of tweaks that are working better than what they were doing before, says Ron Russell. I agree. And ironically, the last time I saw a turnaround like this at RCR was when they brought Andy Petrie in. They were like off in left field. I've got a friend that used to work there. Actually, the shot guy, PJ Bryant, he was telling me they were sort of off a little bit, and then Andy Petrie came in and he had some different ideas, and that was a big turnaround when Andy Petrie came in. So now, ironically, Andy Petrie leaving and they're starting another turnaround. So I don't know, but maybe this is what they need. Larson led over 1,000 laps and is first in the playoffs, says Duke Chronic. Steel curtain equals Pittsburgh Steelers defense, says in between the lanes. In the United States, it does. I think everywhere else in the world, it's the old Soviet Union. The car probably just got the yellow dollar sign because they're talking about that. We'll talk about it anyway. Who cares? The car owners need a union weight. That's political. NASCAR is a mean girl. Oh yeah, that's pretty much like putting that clause in. That's about as petty as it gets in negotiations. You can't talk bad about us. Like that's lame. That's so lame. We need charter drama to end as soon as possible, says Napa Racing Fan. I agree with you, man. I don't want to make another freaking episode about it. That's actually why I waited to do this one on the live, and I'm just going to cut it and I'll throw those quotes in after I cut it. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk about it twice as a cold open and make a video about it because honestly, I'm tired of talking about the charters, man. Hopefully, they just get it done. Like they just get it done because I feel like I just say the same freaking stuff over and over again. Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for asking, says OJ. OJ joining the Dirty 30, by the way. So there you go. Spank Steve says one wise guy. Sorry, NASCAR. This is America. We have freedom of speech. Indeed, but I don't know. I guess they can take your charter away because it's a private company. You don't have freedom of speech in a private company. One wise guy said Mamba. Yes, Mama Smith is in there talking about the True TV Thursday night roundtable for NASCAR. Dictatorship is what's killing NASCAR since day one, says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, they only thrive when you have a strong leader, and they have not had a strong leader with vision in some time. I'll just say that. The charter system needs to, they've got some people that tried really hard. I'm not trying to like diss everybody that's running NASCAR, but they haven't had a strong leader like they had with the two OG Frances, Bill France and Bill France Jr. The charter system needs to go away and go back to the 90s, says Steam Dr. Puss. I mean, I think a lot of people would love to see that. The only problem with that is they're selling all these TV packages now, and they're trying to have something different for each TV package. That's what the in-season tournament's about. They're trying to give the midsummer package something extra, and then you got the playoffs for the people that are getting the last half of the season. You got the Daytona 500 and a couple of crown jewel races there for the first half of the season. So they're trying to add these little things in there, and that's why it's sort of the way it is. So I don't think you'll ever get rid of the playoffs because they've got to sell it to TV partners and have something special there. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see. I'm kind of excited for the phony playoffs to see how phony they get. Watch at least the 2, the 14, the 21, and the 99. Those 4 make it to the round of 8. This year's playoff schedule is wild, says Napa Racing Fan. Indeed, it has been a wild playoff, and if any of those guys you mentioned there and more can make it to like the round of 8, stuff could get real. I'll just put it to you that way. The teams do kind of have one Robin. I think it's called the Race Team Alliance. NASCAR is just doing typical union busting maneuvers like they did in the 70s. Indeed. And fair play to NASCAR. They're doing what they got to do. I think it would be beneficial for everybody if they just made it like every other sports league, because that, like Michael Jordan was saying, that would make it so much easier for other sponsors to come in. Whereas now they come in, they've got to talk to the track, they've got to talk to NASCAR, they got to talk to whatever teams they want to be associated with. That is a logistical nightmare for a large corporation. I'd like to see Marcus Smith and Penske do a power play by using their tracks. That's who you need to get. Like, you need to get Rick Hendrick, Roger Penske, and Michael Jordan. You need to get those 3 on board, and they would, because I feel like they're the richest guys in the NASCAR Cup Series. Johnny Morris, you got to get Johnny Morris in there too, even though he's just a sponsor. If you could get those 4 guys involved, I think you could really see some things. And Menards, the guy that owns Menards, if you got those 5 people involved on the team side, I think you could see some things change for sure. I'm not a big fan of JGR shafting Ryan Truex, who's had success in their equipment for Brandon Jones, especially with all Martin's done with him. Good old Joe being good as always, I see, says Bumblebee. Yeah, unfortunately, money talks. Like they've got to keep the doors open, and money talks, and that's sort of the way it is. That's a high profile Xfinity ride, so whoever has the most money gets into it. Basically, chase with or not the most money, but whoever can. It is the most money to pay. So whoever has the money to pay for that ride, I guess I should say. And to be fair, sitting in that ride, you do get results. Sheldon Creed has been really close to winning races in there. He's having a really good season, despite not going to victory lane yet. I mean, it is definitely a race winning car. Brandon Jones has been in that car and won before. Probably would have won more races if it wasn't for Joe Gibbs' grandson. But I digress. I'm just picking like that. That was the loudest I've ever seen a human being booed is when he wrecked Brandon Jones at Martinsville, without question. Chase with 12 was fine. At least the title didn't come down to one race and four drivers by default, just by winning. Yeah, I think having the two wild cards in there actually made it really cool. So I did like that. If you're gonna have a chase, I did like that style of the chase better because you're watching for the two wild cards, and your top 10 is more or less going to be set. But those two wild cards that could get really dicey. What do you think of RC's comment about the biggest penalty in NASCAR history? I mean, he's not happy about it. I don't expect him to be happy about it, but it to me it's a nothing burger. Like, would you be happy about it either? Absolutely not. Because from RCR's perspective, you're like, we've seen other people wreck to win and they didn't penalize them. That's 100% what they're saying. And we've seen Ross Chastain take out two people. I'm not getting into that whole debate again, but you know what I'm saying? Like, from RCR's perspective, they're like, we've seen other people do it, but why are you penalizing us? And NASCAR basically saying we're setting a new precedent. And RCR's got to be like, why you got to set the new precedent on us, bro? Like, what's up with that? Like, you can see where RCR is coming from. You can see where NASCAR is coming from. So it is what it is. Uh, but as far as it being a big deal, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's just one of those things that's a big deal because social media is running with it because social media loves drama. And who am I to say not love drama? There's tons of reality TV out there. People like drama. They need to get rid of winning you're in, says PC Gone Rogue. I don't know that they need to get rid of it, but you can have winning you're in, and you either have to be like top 20 in points, like that would make a lot of sense, or winning you're in, but and like I said with the system, the top 10 get in, but there's two spots for winning you're in. You win and you're in, but you still have to be above the other guys that are winning you're in, and they're outside of the top 10 in points. I think that would be a better scenario personally. Or if you want to keep 16, you could have six spots. The top 10 get in, and then you have six spots for the win, and you're in. So you could have six wild cards. So however you want to play it. If you want to keep it at 16, championship. But I feel like the top 10 in natural points should always get in regardless. Championship should be at least three races because then you would even then you could have like the 16 trying to get in, and you could still have a cutoff battle if two people were close to 10th and 11th in points. Like you could still have a cutoff battle there. So I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot at stake if they did it that way. Joe has always been cutthroat, says one wise guy. Absolutely, he's all about his business. Like, look, he's a good dude. He prays. He's very strong about his faith. But when it comes to business, like that dude might. I know he coached the Washington Redskins, Commanders football team, whatever they are now. But he's more like a Viking, man, because he's like cutthroat. Like he's an absolute savage when it comes to business. So it is what it is. Need to take the top. Shout out to Iceberg. He's a Vikings fan. Need to take the top 16 in points and be done with it, says Bumblebee. Uh, yeah, to an extent, maybe like in your scenario, maybe take the top 14 and have two open spots for the 16 spot. I still like 16. I still feel like 16 teams in there just kind of waters it down. But at least if you do it like the way I was talking about it, 10 win like the top 10 in points and then 16 winners, you're 16 and six open spots. So you'd have 16 altogether. The six open spots would be for guys that won. And you might not fill up all six of those spots every year, but at least you would know those guys can occasionally win, so there would be some chaos factor to it. So I think that's a fair way of doing it. But I understand what you're saying with just natural points, top 16 as well. Completely makes sense from a meritocracy standpoint. Bianchi, the impractical joker, which one loves the playoffs, will be on the True TV show. Joke says, Napa Racing fan, I see what you did there. Haven't watched Creed's videos yet. At the same time, being subscribed to him, says in between the lanes, every little bit helps when you're first getting started. Even for big names like that. Eric Amarola ran better than Jones has. this year easily, says Napa Racing Fan. Will it, that's a real question. Will Eric Almirola be back on the Xfinity team for Joe Gibbs Racing? I feel like that's a fair question to ask. Trying to get caught up has been busy. Is LaJoy going to JRM, says Aaron Flynn? I don't think so. I think Skew Car was just having some. I think that's who put it out there. I think he was just having some fun with people, but we'll see. Likely to Rick Ware, says Bumblebee. Yeah, that's where. If I had to guess, I would say Rick Ware is going to be the most likely landing spot for Corey LaJoy. But he has said he's got several options open. But I feel like Rick Ware is not the Rick Ware of yesteryear. We've seen that car has speed. Justin Haley has proved that. So it's not the Rick Ware that people are thinking about anymore. RCR hasn't been the same since Dale left us, and since Kevin left them. Says Napa Racing Fan 927. What about the year that Ryan Newman almost won the championship, though? They've had speed in certain years. It just depends on the year. They've had down years, they've had up years, for sure. I will definitely say that. Hopefully, Jones, but they haven't been the same since Dale. Yeah, no doubt about that. They haven't won 7 championships since or 6 championships since Dale left, for sure. Hopefully, Jones leaving JRM. Dale won 7, RCR won 6 because Dale won 1 in the 2 car. Let's see. Hopefully, Jones leaving JRM for JD Stacy. JRM opens the door for Voppel full time. Sorry, Ryan Trix, you deserve full time Xfinity ride too, says Napa Race Fan. That's who I think is going in the other JRM car, but it hasn't been announced yet. Allegedly, that's what I think is happening. I think it'll be Carson Voppel. What's more annoying to make videos on, BB, the Austin Dillon win or the charter system? This season, the Austin Dillon win. Every other season, probably the charter system. NASCAR, everybody was all wound up about the Austin Dillon win until Harrison Burton won. Then everybody was like, oh, we see what you were saying now about somebody being that low in points, being super interesting and ruining the playoffs. Okay, like it was so ironic that Harrison Burton said, hey, hold my beer. I'll get it done for us. I'll ruin the playoffs for everybody, or expose the playoffs for what they are, opportunism and not meritocracy. And for that, I will always be a Harrison Burton fan, even though in late model and ARCA, he put his number in the wrong spot on the quarter panel. But I digress. NASCAR has all the right to be petty. Don't talk bad about the sport, and they deserve a bigger cut than the drivers, says Steamed Octopus. Maybe, but they can also drive themselves they can just drive themselves into absolute bankruptcy by doing that as well. Only petty has the right to be petty, says Napa Racing Fan. Whale up. T-Van, says Brickyard Brickhead. Bait used to be believable, says Bumblebee. When they switch over to streaming the races, can products come back as sponsors, or is it still illegal? That is still illegal. You can't do the green leaf that turns to yellow and they roll it up. And you make it turn into smoke. You can't. You still can't promote that. I'm awake, says T-Van. Glad to have you on here, T-Van. Glad you're awake, brother. Rockingham returning event with no cup was by far the best news this week. Yeah, that's going to be super cool to have Rockingham back, and hopefully everybody that wanted it back shows up for the trucks and Xfinity. If the playoffs help TV, declining TV ratings aren't helping, says Chrome Diesel. They've sort of leveled out, if not started to creep back up recently, though. So I think it's sort of leveled out and plateaued. What's up, everyone? Says Steve. You're not gonna get mid 2000s, because mid 2000s most of the races were on regular Fox, and regular NBC. So you're not gonna get back up to that until they put it back on regular Fox and regular NBC. So I don't think that'll happen with cable deals and stuff like that. What's up, T-Van? Cable doesn't help, but 100% agree. The playoffs don't either, says Napa Racing Fan. It doesn't help from a viewership standpoint, but it does help NASCAR sell it to TV, because NASCAR will spin it that it helps viewership, and they'll p-hack the numbers to make it look like that. P-hacking numbers is when you take a statistic that is not necessarily it's not a false statistic, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to what you say it's correlating to. That's what p-hacking is. And today we learned what p-hacking statistics are, because everybody needed to know that. I don't know why I had to go on that spiel. Got a crap load going on, having surgery next week, unfortunately. Oh man, that stinks, man. Dude, hopefully it goes well for you, and we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers. Going through it right now, and we got your back, though. Just let us know if we can do anything. Josh Berry has a cool paint scheme for this weekend, says OJ and Toothpaste. Indeed, he's got decisively or something like that. I couldn't really say the name. I struggle with regular English, and they've created a word over there, but it's a nice looking purple number 4 car for JB. I heard today Brandon Jones is going back to Gibbs. What do you think it will take over the 9? JRM is losing. Menards will hurt. Yeah, I think they'll get somebody in there. I think whoever takes over that ride will probably bring some money with them. Will they bring that amount of money? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure JRM will keep the doors open. I'm not worried about that. But Brandon Jones going to Gibbs, we know what he can do over there. TNT knows drama, BB. Indeed, they do. So did the 17 hook the 38. Looks like it to me. Says like this, like that's super interesting. And I posted that in the Discord, and all I said about it in the Discord, and that's all I'm going to say about it here. From here on out, no matter what happens, when somebody gets right hooked, the team that got right hooked is going to go right to the Austin Dillon thing, and whether it was an accident. Some people are saying he bounced off the wall and right hooked him. Talking about Chris Buescher in the 38, Pickle Todd, and the fans of the 38 are going to come out and say, "Hey, he right hooked us. He should be suspended for a race or whatever." So no matter what happens from here on out, that's going to be and the same thing when somebody gets a bump and run or somebody wrecks for the win. They're going to go to the Austin Dillon thing and say, "Hey, you took Austin Dillon's points away for this. How come you didn't take this guy's points?" NASCAR has opened that can of worms. So no matter what happens from here on out, right hook or somebody bump into run or completely wrecking somebody for the win, that's going to be the can of worms. That's going to be the conversation every time one of those things happens. The way the system is built, and NASCAR, I guess, will judge it on a case to case basis because they don't like making actual rules. They just like keeping it as vague as possible so that we can remain like the WWE. The way the system is built, I know it only seems like although I would say the WWE is more regulated now that Vince is gone, but I digress. It only seems like there are only 2 spots for points racers, says one wise guy. Yeah, like if you don't get a win now, you basically, most seasons, there's only 2 or 3 spots for people to get in just on points. If we have to keep winning, you're in, at least make it top 20 in points. No offense to the Wood brothers and Burton, but 34th, dead last full time in points. Shouldn't compete for a title, says Napa Race fan. I'm not against that. That's something I proposed when we were talking about the Austin Dillon thing. Actually, I think I proposed that. So I've been a proponent of that for quite some time. Like I said, I want to get back to a meritocracy. Even if we have a playoffs, I'd like to see the people most deserving of a full season being in those playoffs. But that's just me. Other people see it the other way. They want the absolute maximum chaos. Uh, you know, so there's just 2 different perspectives on looking at it. Crazy, I'm saying this, but I want Bush to win another race. I think he gets one. The way they've been trending up, as long as RCR keeps trending up, I think he's going to have a good chance of winning at least a race this year. If not, I don't think it'll be too far into next season before he wins one. But it is what it is. They keep pushing Phoenix as the last race ever since the change. That track's layout. Yeah, they changed the. If they had left the start finish line where it was at and done everything else to the track that they did, I think it would have been probably better for them. Probably better for Phoenix in the long run. The 21 in the playoffs is like the 2-15 Carolina Panthers made last year's playoffs because they miraculously won one game. Yeah, they beat the number 1 team in the league, so they get into the playoffs, right? So that would be an interesting comparison, but I think that's probably close to an accurate comparison. Crazy, who won the last 3 races? 2 guys in the 30s and a guy who was out. It's hilarious to me that and the guys that almost won it were back in points as well too. Well, Kyle Busch did finish the season top 16 in points, so he was 16th in points by the end of the season. Chase Briscoe was only 18th or 20th, I think, when he won. It's hilarious to me that people are still treating Rick Ware like a joke of a team, says Thunderstrikes. Yeah, they've had such a good season this year. They're obviously not where they want to be, but they've definitely improved. So yeah, they're not the same Rick Ware. I agree with you. At least saying y'all know good and well they're going to love the playoffs now on the new show. I'll just throw it in the skip bin. Says at least Rick Ware Racing just won the NHRA U.S. Nationals this weekend, and that's pretty cool. They came close to winning a Penty Series championship when they were messing with that up there as well. Rick Ware won the U.S. Nationals in MH. I think it was 2021 when they were messing with that yesterday in Milliken in an Arby's Top Fuel Ride NHRA. Says Napa, the win was great, but that's the problem with the playoff system. Burton's Daytona win is tainted because 34th in points qualifies for the playoffs because of one win. Indeed, but I will say this: it's not tainted because everybody had the same. And B jumped on it right there. It's not tainted because everybody knew the rules coming in. It's just a flawed system, and I've been railing against this flawed system since they put it in place. But now I'm glad that Harrison Burton did this because more people are coming over to my side. Finally, sometimes you just have to show people. You can't show them theoretically what happens. Sometimes it actually has to happen. And now that it has actually happened, people are like, "Oh yeah, that's bad. That's not good." So there you go. And that's and Austin Dillon. That's why I was hoping Austin Dillon would beat the charges because he would have been the guy to get in there. But then Harrison Burton said, "Don't worry about it. I got this." Harrison Burton did it anyway, and he was even lower in points than Austin Dillon. The win was special, but the TV coverage made the playoffs seem like the only thing that mattered for the most part, says Napa Racer fan. Yep, indeed. It devalued the regular season, and I don't think it's ever recovered from that. At this point, I might as well have top 10 in points and two drivers with the most wins that are top 20 in points lock in at race 20. Then races 21 through 25, see the next three slots for people 12 through 15th in points get filled. Don't suggest things like Cody Ledger because NASCAR might actually do that because that would give them something to sell to each TV partner. So, God dang it, don't give them any ideas. But yeah, I mean, for what NASCAR wants to do, that would 100% make sense. Daytona is whoever not in that finishes highest takes it all, says Cody Ledger. It isn't the most popular with playoff lovers, but it is an awesome win, says Bumblebee. Austin, we must protect the integrity of the playoffs. Speed. Austin Dillon doesn't quotes Elton Sawyer. Austin, or was it Steve Phelps? One or the other. Austin Dillon doesn't deserve that win or to be in the playoffs. NASCAR got it right. Yep, that was a long time ago. We were having that discussion there. Let's see. Just wish the win could be appreciated for the win itself and not the phony playoff ticket. Just like Briscoe appreciated winning the Southern 500 more than making the playoffs. Props to him, says Napa Racing fan. Yeah, I mean, everybody had the same rules at the beginning of the season, so it is what it is. If you want anything changed, it has to be next season. So that's the way that goes. I was hoping every race this year would have a wonky winner just to destroy the playoffs, says Bumblebee. Yeah, you would. If you want the chaos, like that's what you want. That's what I'm saying. There's two different ways of watching it. So if you want the chaos, that's what you want. If you don't want the chaos, you want the more of a meritocracy. You're hoping none of that happens. So it's just people are watching two different things. I am the one that would love to see some teams leave NASCAR and start a new series. I feel more star drivers were made in open wheel when our IRL went up against CART. They were, but IndyCar has never recovered. So I don't know if that's going to be the greatest thing that happens. So hopefully there is no split. How bad do the ratings drop when the playoffs start? Says like dislike. I don't think they drop. I just think you have some races that get a lot of ratings and some races that don't. Sobo on the agenda this weekend, says one wise guy. Nope. Nobody wanted our help. So I will not be at Sobo. Might go watch it. But nobody is racing that needed at least my help. Martin Truex Jr. has a new auto owners insurance scheme this weekend, says in between the lanes. Indeed. I'll have to go check that one out. I feel like this is going to be a wild first round with some heavy hitters. Will miss the second round. I think so too. I think you could see some surprises in here. I think could see some people going just aggressive strategy and just not looking into it, but going with an aggressive strategy, only worried about a win, and they put people at a decision and they somehow come out and win it. You could see something like that happen 100%. BB, which Final Four driver will be the biggest surprise? Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton will be the biggest Final Four driver that's a surprise because that's what I'm pulling for. I want the guy that's last in points to somehow find a way to make it to the Final Four. Do I think it'll happen? Absolutely not, but that's what I'm pulling for. Early pick for Atlanta winner. Kyle Busch keeps the streak alive. That's not a bad pick. I see a lot of people making that pick. I don't know what to do with the playoff bracket because the first two rounds were so crazy, says Napa Racing fan. I agree. I'm right there with you. They almost did win the Pinty's Championship. They won 2 races that year. I'm not sure why they ever left that series. I'm a big enthusiast of the series, so I wish they stayed. Yeah, and they ran a Dodge too. So they actually Rick Ware Racing was working with Dodge during that whole deal too. Are you still making the video about the richest owners? Says like dislike. I am, but something actually happened to the script, so I've got to go do all that research again and find it. So I lost the script somehow. This weekend's race just makes me miss Atlanta Motor normal speedway. The 1.5 super speedway is fine for what it is, but should have been Texas, not Atlanta. The current NASCAR playoff system is perfect. We don't touch it. So there you go. Steam Octopus still on his tirade about the playoffs being perfect. How is the fan reaction to dumping at Richmond? Race for Mexico seems mixed at best. Uh, I think it's going to be a super popular race. Like that's just me, but I don't know. Just having everyone running for the championship at Phoenix says Bubber D. I mean, there you go, Max Chaos. Mexico should be a good race. Hopefully, I'm excited. Says OJ and Toothpaste. Will Gibbs go? I'll tell you one thing: it's probably going to sell out. I'll tell you that. Will Gibbs go further than Austin Dillon would have since he took the spot in the playoffs? Says Tim Brace. Oh yeah, I would expect Gibbs to go further than Austin Dillon. I think Dillon his best finish I think was 12th maybe if I'm not mistaken or 14th something like that. So yeah, Gibbs would have to go further than 12th to top that. Let's see. Russell Dominguez saying, "Let's go." Chrome Diesel problem for me with the media is they treat every race as one continuous event. The race should be its own event, not the playoffs. Says Chrome Diesel. That would be helpful if they just waited to do the playoff stuff until at least closer to the end of the race, or just pop it in every once in a while, but then worry about the race as the race is going on. Agree totally, says Napa Racing Fan. Talking about Chrome Diesel. Tyler Reddick will take Atlanta. I'm calling it. My driver Ross missed the playoffs. I'm in a way kind of glad. Now, no pressure, just go for wins, says Beast. Yep, Ross. There's a really cool video of Ross watching Briscoe celebrate. So he was drinking in the pain to get better for next season. That's how it was on the Trackhouse post. So we'll see if he can rebound here and have a strong second half of the season. Hope we can see some tire fall off at more tracks like last week, says Bruce Garvey. NASCAR seems to have a pretty good package for tire fall off at short tracks now. So hopefully that gets going. Kyle Busch is not very good, says Steamed Octopus. His wins and his immediate when he retires going to the Hall of Fame would disagree. But everybody's opinion is welcome, Steam. I just hope the MTJ retirement tour kind of kicks into gear. Guy's kind of getting done over by all of his home tracks, says Cody Ledger. Indeed. Hopefully Martin Truex Jr. can get a win here in his final season. Dang ads. I had to go about 6 so far. I'm trying to get them, but they're I put it at lower than normal, but they're still just super aggressive over here with them. I just hope Martin Truex Jr. retirement tour kicks into gear. Guys kind of getting done over by his home tracks. Dang ads. Had to go about 6 so far. I just read all those. Garage area, though, on what point system they would like. Garage area would probably like the old Latford system, if I'm guessing. But that's just me. The vast majority of them. There will be a few that are like, we need the playoffs. So it just depends on which driver you ask. But I would say the vast majority would want the Latford system with more emphasis given to more points basically given for wins. NASCAR having no off weekends next year should be interesting. The One Cup off weekend is Trucks and Xfinity when they run the Rock. Says Napa Racing Fan. And that's kind of cool that they did the Rock like that. So that'll be a cool deal. 2 days until NFL kickoff. It'd be so hilarious if the 21 won the championship this year, says OJ and Toothpaste. That would be the best thing of all time, in my opinion. The Winston points current standings were posted on Discord, and it was very interesting. Yeah, because and it doesn't mean anything because that's a different set of rules and drivers would drive differently. But it is interesting from the perspective that in that particular series, Chris Buescher was 5th in points. So it just shows you how consistent his year has been. And he didn't make the playoffs. And, several other drivers were in the top 12 or whatever in points on that one. Didn't make the playoffs. Doesn't really mean anything, but it just shows you how consistency was rewarded with that system. And consistency is no longer rewarded with this system. So it was an interesting list. We'll say that at the very least. Is it a coincidence that Truex checks out when hunting season gears up, says Tim Brace? It might not be at this point in his career. I'll be rooting for Atlanta and against Atlanta on Sunday, says Napa Racing Fan, talking about against the Falcons and for the track. So, all right, looks like we've reached the end of it. And the poll question, final poll here. Creed wins 54%. Cali builds a track 22%. Grand Theft Auto 6 24%. So there you go. Sheldon Creed will win before we get Grand Theft Auto 6, according to y'all. And that's about it. First 25 races, top 15 in points, move on to 10 race playoffs. Playoff drivers that win those 10 races battle at the final for the race championship is how like dislike would like to see it. All right, that's it. Peace. Catch y'all on the next one.